Greeting of the day. Today we will be covering chapter number 3, which will deal with the calculations of gross earnings. All right. So, what we will be going through this is what is the learning objective of this? We will understand the sources of employment earnings. What are the earnings, what are the allowances, and what is the reimbursements, and what is the difference between them, okay? And then prepare the calculation of earnings, which mean how much would be the net earning. Now, the important thing is that basically we must choose a pay cycle. In our previous example that we covered yesterday, we took 12 pay period. So, the calculation was based on those 12 pay period. Okay. In this chapter, I believe that we will be using mostly 26 pay period. Now, examples of pay periods are pay can be weekly, it can be biweekly like every 2 weeks, semi-monthly which is about twice per month, mean 26 pay periods, and monthly which is 12 month, once a month, that we use in our example yesterday. Fairly is an easy chapter. Okay. Now, rates of pay may be quoted in a variety of ways, like it could be hourly rate, amount per hour, per unit of the production, piece rate kind of things, weekly salary, monthly salary, and annual salary. These are the thing, and then you guys are familiar with this. Okay. Now, all those things must be able to translate rate of pay into a per pay cycle amount. Okay. So, normally when the organization decided, they do not change this. Mostly if it is a monthly payroll or it is a biweekly, sometime in the production facilities where it is weekly. Okay. Now, most common form of employment income in terms of wages we will be dealing with normal based on rate per hour worked, right, and what we include for the for time period is overtime premium, shift premium. Sometimes there are certain shift which is harder, people do not want to work at night, then there is some premium to be paid. Okay. Working on statutory holidays, the rate would be added, performance bonuses. So, again that is the company policies that you will know that. Now, here is an example of that. So, Istalal is an Ontario employee and Astala's pay is 18 per hour, $18. Overtime is that if she work more than 8 hours per day is a 40-hour week, 8 multiplied by 5, and shift premium is 50 cents per hour for the afternoon shift. Okay. That is clear here. Vacation pay is 4% on each pay. Our work in this is bi-weekly pay cycle. Okay. So, that every 2 weeks they get paid. Now, let us see over here in week 1, Monday she work 8 hours, on Tuesday 2 hours extra, and on Wednesday she work 6 hours, Thursday is 8 hours. So, Friday is 8 hours, Saturday, Sunday no work, and the total hours are 40. In the second week she work all 8 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, okay, and on Saturday as well work. So, it means that she work 46 hours. All right. So, when we are dealing with the calculation of the wages, we have to differentiate the overtime differently. So, in week 1 even she work 40 hours, okay, like in this case if you see 40 hours here, okay, but in this 40 hours actually the work is 38 hours and this 2 hours was the overtime, this 2 hours would be overtime. So, how many in that week 1 she works actually is 38 hours, all right, and 2 hours overtime. Now, in week 2 basically then she worked actually 46 hours, but in that one 6 hours was on Saturday. Okay. So, now this 6 plus 2 is qualifying for overtime, okay, that we will cover in the next example. Say for example, when the regular wage was, as we understand, that 38 hours week 1 and week 2 40 hours. So, total hours she worked was 78 hours, all right. Now, what is the rate for that is $18. So, 1440 is the $1,404 was the wages of the regular. Now, in the week 1 2 hours was overtime, okay. So, then in week 2 6 hours were the overtime, total is 8 hours, 6 plus 2, and the rate would be $18 is the regular rate multiplied by 1.5. So, it is 216. Okay. So, that what is the calculation here it is. So, it explain it further, you guys can understand this is coming to 16 like the 8 hours total was 8 hours, right. So, if we see this like 8 hours multiplied by the regular rate is 18. Okay. So, what it comes? It has come 144, right. Now, then there is another 8 hours where we have to apply the rate 1.5. Okay. So, how we calculate that? Like half of that, which will be $9. So, the total amount would be 72. Okay. So, if we add both of them, it will become 216. So, that is I just explained like, okay, but 8 hour multiplied by at the rate of 18 multiplied by 1.5, or to just explain that you guys can understand this better, but that is whatever way the calculations are. Okay. Now, shift premium. Okay. So, week 140 that is the normal and week 2 was 46. So, total hours are 86. Okay. And the premium was 50 cents. So, when we have a 40 plus 46 total is 86 multiplied by 50 cent it would be 43. In terms of vacation pay, so we have the first source, if you see from here, this is our first source. Second source we have 216 which is an overtime, and then there is a shift premium. If we add all of them, then we will apply the 4% of that. So, total of all is equal to 1663, and if you apply 4% of that, and that is the amount. So, the total wages that what she will we will calculate for her would be 1729.52. So, this is one of the example just to explain it more. Okay. Now, in terms of piece work, okay, employee can be paid per unit produced or number of orders processed, right, sometime on the commission basis or the unit base. So, then you do not have to supervise a lot, okay. But sometime in the facility this is the only way, like someone is working on the unit base, some people are faster, in 1 month they can produce more, they prefer that way, but again our job is to administrate the payroll, but whatever the company's policies are. Okay. So, compensation of the salary, okay, will be based on the standard earnings per day per pay period. Okay. So, irrespective of actual hours work or units produced, important to determine the rate per cycle. Okay. Now, as I mentioned that you will know that what is a 26 pay period, is a 12 pay period, okay, or you know, whatever is a weekly, bi-weekly. So, this is self-explanatory explanation over here. If you guys want to go through that, I will just explain. The first one is the pay period over here is 50, annual salary is 52,000, okay. And if we divide it by, as I mentioned, we are taking example 26 pay period, day pay cycle amount is 2,000, and if it is a monthly, so what you have to do is that 52,000 you will divide it by 12, okay, and then that is the amount per month will come, and divided by 26. So, okay, this is a pay cycle again, all right. Then if it is a week, there is a 52 weeks divided by, you know, 52,000 divided by 52, then you will get 1,000, and then is a bi-weekly, okay. That is why I mean 26 pay period, which is 2 weeks, multiplied by this equal to 2,000, okay. And then is a per day basis, if you want to do, is a 52. So, in terms of per day period, you will divide 50, so you will multiply 52 weeks, right, multiply by 5 days, it comes to 260, okay, and so days, and then you have when you divide $52,000 here, you write this divided by 260, you will get 200, and then there is a bi-weekly period. So, 200 multiplied by 10 days. So, that is come over here. Again, the important point over here is to understand that whatever the pay period you will select, the deduction will based on that one. I have seen sometimes if you are doing a calculation for some of the company, on a small company, one person, few staffs are on annual basis, their pay period is 12 pay period, someone get bi-weekly, then is a 26, and people calculate wrong, even though the bi-weekly they choose monthly, and the deduction would be wrong at that point of time. All right. Now, in terms of allowances, so a type of reimbursement to an employee, okay, paid in addition to a regular pay earnings, may or may not be taxable, depends upon the circumstances. So, clothing allowance paid to employee who must provide own clothing to wear on the job. So, the clothing allowance is given to the employee for that, because they have to buy that clothes which is must to be used in the company while they are on their premises working. Okay. Car allowance again paid to the employee who uses his own vehicle for company's business. So, then company give them some allowance in terms of monetary to cover their expenses. Some living expense paid to employee who must work away from normal residence. Sometime you may have to go to an other city, and the company has to compensate. Okay. So, expenses reimbursement is another topic, paying an employee back for expenses paid on behalf of the employer, may be paid through payroll or accounts payable. Okay. Basically again whatever way you can add into their payroll as addition, but that will not be taxable, in some cases taxable. Okay. So, traveling expenses are there, purchases of supplies such as stamps, okay, entertainment costs for the benefit of the company. Sometimes you may have to have a lunch and dinner with your clients, okay, then you keep those receipts for the promotion of the company. So, then you can submit those bills to get the money back, that is your reimbursement. Personal use of automobile based on actual kilometer, there is a various policies how per kilometer how much we can reimburse them, okay, because the car is not only a gas, there is a insurance, there is a depreciation of the car. Okay. So, or reimbursement are not taxable, okay, because the employee have done these things for the sake of the company. Okay. Thank you. Now, benefits. So, taxable benefits are payments made by employer for the benefit of the employee, can be paid cash or paid through payroll. Okay. To qualify as a taxable expenditures, okay, expenditure must be primarily for the benefit of the employee. Here is the two example. Taking a job related course as directed by supervisor is not a taxable benefit, because that is asked by the company. Taking a general interest course without direct job relevance is a taxable benefit. Sometimes companies send you training, that is just a recreational training, right. So, that is a benefit to you. So, that would be a taxable benefit will be added in your payroll calculations. All right. Now, as in terms of benefit, employer's automobile. Okay. So, employer has provided you automobile, okay, car. Complex taxable benefit arising when an employee has access to employer's vehicle for personal use. You know, sometimes people take that car home or they use that car for their own purposes. There are different rulings on that, but as the situation arise, you will see, and then clarification can be sought on the CRA and define those kind of things now. Okay. So, benefit calculated based on three factors in this case. Okay. Standby charge and based on the capital cost of the vehicle, operating cost based on the personal kilometer driven by the employee, okay, reduction for amount reimbursed by employee to the employer. Sometime employee use that car and then they reimburse some of the amounts. Okay. So, calculation is simply using online benefit of a calculator. Now, it is a mutual understanding. Sometimes employee may use the car for personal use, but if you have to return the car going back to do the stuff, it may be more costly to the employer in terms of that. And normally in the businesses these things are not very complex, but again there is a calculators on a CRA website and many software will address that issue too. Okay. So, just you guys should be aware of that there are benefits for the taxable benefit and there is a non taxable benefit, and then the vehicle which is provided by the company to do your job. If you are using that for personal purposes, then that has to be taken care by the factor what is the price of that car, like there will depreciation going on, how many kilometers driven, right, and then there is a gas and also depreciation stuff, and then if employees have written a check back for those expenses to the company, that has to be reduced. Okay. Now, other type of earnings. So, the earnings may require withholding calculation by CRA, like gratuities and tips, bonus and profit sharing, commissions, severance pay, which is a lieu of a notice. We talk about that in one of the chapters in one of our lecture. Retiring allowances, gifts and awards, subsidize or free meals, okay, and honorarium and directors or management fees. Okay. So, these are kind of things sometimes they say this is a taxable benefit. We should add into their earnings to calculate the taxes on that before we pay them as a net pay. All right. In this example for Shannon, the calculations are as follows: is $18 per hour, overtime after 8 hours, like 40 hours per week will qualify for that, and shift is premium is 0.30 per hour for midnight shift. Okay. and vacation pay is 4%, allowance of $100 for safety shoes paid. So, hourly work in this week pay cycles are on Monday, Tuesday 2 hours extra, here she works 6 hours is 8 hours, and then work Saturday 6 hours. So, total hours work was 46 hours. So, let us calculate the Sharon's gross earnings, okay, for the purpose of taxes. So, she worked 38 hours regular one, okay, so is at the rate of 18, this is the amount. Then overtime on Tuesday 2 hours, right, and on Saturday 6 hours, total as 8 hours. We have to apply 1.5 extra time and a half. So, for these 8 hours she got $216, and then there is a shift premium, that is a total hours of work for 46, okay, and multiply by 0.3, and that is the other amount for the shift premium, and she was given $100 for the shoes, safety shoes. So, the total earning come $1,013.80. So, this is the way that we calculate the gross earning for Shannon. In our second example, Savalitana Tokir earns 45,000 per year salary, annual salary. Overtime is start from after 37.5 per week if she work more than that. Vacation pay rate is 6%, okay, and car allowance is $300, okay, and that is a biweekly, so 26 pay period. Paid and expense reimbursement, okay, is very careful, reimbursement of $647.98 for travel expense through accounts payable, okay, and 10 hours of overtime was authorized, okay. So, that is the information. So, let us calculate Savalitana's gross earnings. So, regular salary was $45,000, but is paid bi-weekly. So, we divide by 26. So, the pay period for that amount would be $1,730.77. Now, how we will calculate the overtime? So, is a 45,000 gross salary, then the weekly hours are 37.5. If we multiply by these twos, and the amount will come about 1950, okay, and if we divided 45,000, okay, divided this by the 45,000, this is the regular rate, okay, per hour we calculated, and then there is a 10 hours of overtime, multiply that by the rate and 1.5. So, because it is the overtime, so that is the value will come, all right. Then car allowance $300 per month, and so $300 multiplied by 12 divided by 26, because the bi-weekly, and this is the amount for that pay period come. Now, there was an expense paid, but those expense was basically not taxable, because that was the reimbursement. So, that is why it is 0 over here. So, if we add all these things, is called $2,215.43, and this will be the gross earning which we will apply for the deduction to get the net pay. So, in terms of summary of this chapter, we understood the sources of employments. Then we say that paying according to the contract must be aware of all types of earnings applicable to each employee. Okay, what was the earnings, allowances, reimbursements, and difference between where we have to add and where we do not have to add into the gross wages for the taxable purposes. Now, essentially when the employees come in most of the software, you will set up the things, and only the new information you will add, and that is the way you will calculate the gross pay, all right. So, now there may be few examples in this when we send for the review to clarify more of your concepts, okay. But this was the general concept of gross earning and the calculations about sources of employment earnings, pay period. All right, thank you very much. Now, one thing I would like to say that the yesterday's the previous lecture, what the assignment was given for 6-month calculation for the month of July, August, September, October, November and December. Each month we should be getting how much the total reimbursement to the receiver general was. Okay. And most of the students, what they sent was only the example that I showed. Example that I showed was only for the month of July, then for August, because in the August the rate number of hours work for the second employee number 2 was changing. So, the calculation will change. So, that was the understanding. Please do complete that for 6 months, and because there these information we will need when we will be dealing with T4 and T4 summary calculations later on. Okay. Please do complete that assignment for 6 months. Each month how much money we have to send to CRA, and the check will be written to Receiver General of Canada. You will calculate for each month for next 5 months, because July I explained to you and most of the students send that, but I need those things for the 6-month period. Thank you.